Okie doke. So my argument is that media needs indie art because indie artists take risks that corporate may shy away from. As a result, these risks prevent some monopolies and keeps the media from becoming too mainstream. And these risks also prevent a stagnant culture and puts new ideas into the industry because without risk, you don't get that reward. If you don't use risk, you're stuck with the same boring media. So the reward is the new ideas that we want because people want new ideas. So this source over here directly supports how the lack of diversity affects industries because it produces monopolies and you get stuck with the same boring media and people want new things. Also, Hermione explains that you have to really push to get something done. So you have to take those risks to get that reward. So back to people want new ideas. People want new ideas because they don't want that old diverse or same boring media. But also, indie art is where all new genres are born. All of our favorites, George Lucas, Spielberg, they were all something new, something no one had ever done before. They were independent. They weren't attached to some big corporation. And so exactly every old idea was first a new idea. Indie art just reminds us of that. Indie art is where it all starts. So, where it all started, source over here tells about this person's life and explains how Hartley, all of the stuff he was doing, he talks about his life, it was new, but it paved the way for what cinema and what art is today. So another reason why media needs indie art, because indie artists give personal, authentic stories that larger algorithms may miss. So bigger businesses may be caught up in trends to notice, so it's not necessarily their fault. That's just how they roll. They have to get the money because caught up in this. So bigger artists get hurt when breaking away, but indie artists are capable of making these risks over here. Also, indie art also lowers the barrier, allowing more voices not influenced by budget and corporations. So this source over here explains about how cinema helps us understand each other. It has empathy, grows empathy. Independent art gives us more perspective on the independent art gives us more of these perspectives to put out there. So indie art also lowers the barrier, so it gives more perspectives. But as of right here, bigger artists get hurt when breaking away, but indie artists are capable for those risks. If we go over here, we see counterclaim. Large corporations aren't bad, and that's exactly what we're saying right here. They can't. That's not how they were built to be. So I'm not saying that I'm saying media needs indie art, not saying that they don't need corporations, because we do need corporations because they serve a purpose. But we're trying to work together. I'm not saying that we don't need large corporations. We do. We just also need indie art to help industry as a whole. Indie art isn't here to replace large corporations. It's here to help and support it because we both want to make the art industry the best it can be. So we can work together. Another counterclaim, big studios give jobs and fund the project. So again, big studios aren't bad. We like big studios. But the bad thing about it is that artists may contribute to most of a multi-million film, but only get a small cut. So, indie media gives the artist more control over their own work. So there's pros and cons to both, and that's why if we put them together, it'll really just help rather than hurt. So another reason why media needs indie art is because it restores creativity to media. Now the counterclaim is that, well, even indie can become a product marketed as art. And that's so true. So that's where we have to go to here. Art is just a creative human expression. And we can't let this happen. We can't let indie become this because we have a duty. We can't let it happen. So let's go down to here. Indie art is where all new genres should start. What did we write? Art is the heart and soul that gets the trends started. So we need art and that human creative expression to get the new genres started. When we let industry keep making the old media, we lose the art in art, and that's what we need. The indie art is the voices, the true voices that we saw right here. It shows us the perspectives of people, and we need those perspectives because we just want art. So the source way over here tells us, this source talks about the art and soul of cinema. Big industry treats art like a product, but indie artists treat it as soul to be explored. So it goes back to this, as indie art restores creativity to media, and that media, it's really just commercialized art, and art is creative human expression. It's our human duty to keep art live. It's our expression. It's how we express it. It's not a product. And it's really just how we communicate when we don't have the words to say. So we have the duty to keep this, to have indie art in our lives so that independent people, so that people can share their voices. So, a restorable. I think that's it. So we have the sources on the side, all of this in the middle, and here's the key. Thank you.